Today, I have the opportunity to talk to you about becoming your best self, self-actualizing, if you will. Many of us are probably familiar with Abraham Maslow and the hierarchy of needs. The whole pyramid, probably seen this before at some point in your life, talks about lower level needs or basic needs. They need to be met first. And as you meet those needs, you kind of go up to a higher level, meet those needs, and get to this higher level. The highest level is self-actualization, which talks about being your best self. Well, what is that? How do you know if you are your best self? How do you know? Well, I think it would be interesting if through our lives we had this thing called a manual to life. When a baby's born, they say, congratulations, here's your baby, and here's your baby's manual. And I'm not talking about give the baby milk and burp them after. I'm not talking about that kind of thing. I'm talking about you open this manual up and you say, hey, what do we have here? Oh, this person can be an expert musician if it's encouraged. Like, hey, we got a musician on our hands here. You say, hey, this person will be tremendously faithful to whatever you teach them and whatever they're convinced to believe. Hey, that's important. We got to pay attention to that. Well, this person will have a poor self-concept if they're not nurtured, and it'll last from age 23 to 47. You're like, whoa. Now, can you think about how that would influence life? Can you think about how that would influence job interviews? You come into a job interview, they be talking about the weather and everything else, and then after a while, you just know they're going to ask you, can we see your manual? we want to know what's in that manual. You think about dating, you go out on a date, and you're getting to know each other. So what's your zodiac sign? Can I see that manual? At the end of the day, that's kind of where it would go. So we don't have manuals, right? Or do we? Or do we have the opportunity to actually write our own manual? I think that's the theory I'll go with. You got a lot of blank pages and what I'll call the manual to life. So I want to share a few experiences about my own life and how that relates to how I've interpreted things and how I've sought to become my best self. So let's talk about first grade. Some people who know me may already know this story. When I was in first grade, true story, can't make this up, there was a spelling bee. The teacher said, we're going to do group 1 against group 2 in this spelling bee. And I was in group 1. And in my opinion, group 1 was the best spellers in the school. That was my group. We were good spellers. We had a reading group. We read faster than group 2. We were the best ones. And I'm thinking to myself, why is she even doing this? So we do the spelling bee. Group 1 spells some words. Group 2 spells some words. Group 1 spells the words better than group 2. Group 2 was messing up. Confirmed in my mind, we're better than them, right? And we get to the word cheese, and she asked someone in group 1, spell cheese, C-H-E-E-Z, cheese. That's right, that's how you spell cheese, man, right? Yeah, come on. Cheese. Cheese, right? And she says, no, that's not how you spell cheese. And no. And in my mind, that's how you spell cheese. C-H-E-E-Z. That's how they spell it at Kraft, right? Cheese whiz, cheese. So she asked someone in group 2, they spell it C-H-E-E-S-E, cheese, and she says, correct. My mouth drops. I was amazed at what this kid did on the other side, but what's more important than a first grader spelling the word cheese is the idea of why was it so firm in my mind that I was better and that they couldn't do something that I could do? Where did that come from? Where did that level of socialization hit me, and why was it so firm at 6? That I had this startling experience until my ideas were shaken a little bit, and now I had a new revelation of who I was. Any moment where you kind of have this shocking moment and you learn something about yourself is a valuable moment, and I think valuable to your own self-actualizing, becoming your best self. Let's fast forward a little bit in my life. Going to 8th grade, I was a tall kid, and I was tall pretty early. By the time I was 13, I was 6'1". I mean, I had a growth spurt. I grew like 7 inches in a year. My mother, she looked at me and she said, you grew yesterday. And I had to get new clothes. But as I was coming into my own as this young kid, I was starting to develop this confidence in myself. I went from an elementary school, which was predominantly black students, and I went to a new school, a high school, which was predominantly white students, actually predominantly male students as well. When I was 14 years old, going to this new school, I was able to grow one of these high-top hairdos. I wish I could grow one today. It's kind of, my follicles are getting old. But when I was in this freshman year of my high school, I had this flat-top hairdo. And with that flat-top hairdo, I was pretty confident in myself. And in my mind, I wore it well. And I was around a group of students who I kind of stood out from. Once, while I was at this high school, all-boy high school, I went to a football game. And at this football game, my brother was at the same school, and he was playing on the field. So I'm cheering on my brother. I'm in the front row of the game, cheering him on. And as the game goes, some guy just reached out and kind of shook my hair. And I'm like, what are you doing, man? And I'm in the front row, and it's a bleacher full of other kids behind me, predominantly white males. He shakes his hand in my hair. He did it a second time. I'm like, man, come on, man, what are you doing? And then he reaches out and says a racial epithet along with an expletive. And I'm just there to watch the football game, right? So what do I do with that? I kind of look back at him. And I just walk off. I didn't know what to do with that. I was stuck. I was this kid at a school. All of a sudden, all these thoughts went through my mind. Why am I even at this school? I didn't want to go to this school in the first place. My brother went here. That's why I'm over here. They didn't make fine. And I'm just thinking all of this stuff going through my head. And as I'm sitting outside the gate, it was probably no more than 5 minutes from me leaving the stadium and standing outside the gate, kind of leaning on the fence. And then this kid comes by, and his name is Carl. And Carl's a 6'6", 220-pound guard at the school, but he had already won a scholarship to go to a prestigious college that was already a ranked institution. I looked up to Carl. I looked through my brother's yearbook, and I saw him playing basketball, and I got to the school, and he got to know me. And as I leaned on the fence, he said, DuBoi. And I looked up, and he said, what's up, man? Nothing. What you doing? Watching the game, Man, I saw you playing the other day. You got some moves, Carl told me. I said, man, yeah, you're going to be nice with it, man. Keep up with the game. You're going to be pretty good. You can go as far as you want with the game. Just keep working. You going to open gym? I said, yeah, I'll be there. He said, all right, freshie. Pat me on the back, walked away. And in that moment, I went from this low to this high. And the high that Carl took me to was higher than the low that the other student took me to. It was amazing what he did for me. And I learned in that situation later on in life what actually kind of happened for me. There's this thing called self-determination theory. Self-determination theory says that people have a tendency to be motivated when they have 3 core areas met for them. An ability to have autonomy, make their own call, do what they want to do, make the choices for themselves, an ability to connect to people that they relate to. They feel motivated when you have that. Anybody like that? You feel motivated when you get around people that you like? That person comes around, you just feel better all of a sudden. Motivated. Relatedness is that term. And then the last term, competency. We all tend to feel motivated when we feel competent in something. You can do something, you can do it well, you want to perform that. Self-determination theory says you can do that. So why do I bring that up in my conversation about self-actualization and being our best self? Well, those are 3 key areas for all people. And when you can fulfill those areas in yourself, you have a more fulfilled life and you're becoming your best self. And Carl motivated me through all of that. Shout out to you, Carl. So another thought, moving forward in my life. Now I'm in college. And in college, I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to major in. My first semester in college didn't go so well. I got C's, 1 A. The A was in volleyball. Better get an A in volleyball, right? And I said, I want to do better than this. So I studied memory, trained myself. I want to perform better than I'm performing. I need some kind of training. Sought this training. They said, you can learn anything you want to learn and remember it. What would you do with your life? I'm like, I'll buy that. If you can learn whatever you want to learn and remember it, what would you do with your life? So my first semester, I was kind of low on, man, that's not what I wanted. Second semester, I got straight A's. Straight A's. I went from, man, it's not working to, man, I can do whatever I want to do. So my mind was low, my body was functioning a certain way, my mind was high, my body was functioning another way at that point. That taught me about these ideas. A certain thing was happening physiologically within my body. There were stress hormones being released into my body. Seriously, I learned this in my psychology class. Like, wow, adrenaline was being, cortisol released into my body because my mind was stressed. I said, wow, I'm stressed, and it's stressing how I'm performing. And it's releasing these hormones that cause me not to function as well as I could function. And I wanted to function on a higher level. And I also learned that I could function better. There were hormones that would be released into my body. Dopamine, would take me to a higher level when good things happen and when I thought about great things. That would be released into my body, and I would be able to heal better and think clearer. And I said, man, I'm learning a lot about myself and how I can become my best self. With these ideas, now I can perform better, and I need to regulate how I perform things within my own life with this understanding. So, I'd like to kind of wrap up my ideas from here. So, when we think about this manual to life and what's important and what we're feeling about ourselves, we have some blank pages. Go to those pages and write some ideas. These are ones that I think are critical that we write into our own manual of life and becoming our best self. First thing, I need to recognize my own talents. A kid in my story tried to knock me out of my own talent and ability, and Carl rose me right back to believing in myself. And I said, man, I need to recognize my own talent and develop them. You don't get paid for the talent that you have. You get paid for the talent that you've developed, right? Develop your talents, and you will be compensated for them. Good. That's a good one. Wrote that in my manual. Second idea, identify the messages that I've learned about myself that are productive for me. Reinforce those messages. The messages that were unproductive for me, challenge those messages. That'll change how I feel about myself. Know that my body is a tool. Third thing, my body is a tool through which I function. It's my responsibility to feed that tool mentally as well as physically what it needs. How often do we go out and eat? We just eat what tastes good today instead of thinking about what the body really needs, both mentally and physically. So let me feed my body that way. Fourth thing, recognize that autonomy and competency and relatedness, those are things that I need in my life. Find ways to fulfill those needs within myself. And the last thing, know that my number one job is to manage myself. Nobody else, just to manage myself. And to manage myself with insight and do it effectively. And how effective I am with that will be how effective I am at becoming my best self. When you're trying to manage somebody else, you need to go to a marriage class about that. Thank you.